I'm Debbie Walsh. I'm the director of the Center for American Women and Politics at the Eagleton Institute of Politics, and it is my enormous pleasure to welcome you here tonight. This is always, I have to say, over the course of all the things that we do in a year, this is my favorite event. We are really pleased that there are so many of you here joining us today. And one of the reasons I know that we always have such a wonderful turnout is our fantastic co-sponsors. It would take us most of the night if I read all of them, but I just want to thank all of them for their help in getting the word out about this event. You can see them all listed in your program, and let's just give them a round of applause for their help. As many of you know, tonight's program is made possible by the generous support of the New Jersey Legislature for the Senator Wynona Lipman Chair in Women's Political Leadership. A native of LaGrange, Georgia, Wynona Lipman received her PhD in French literature in 1952 from Columbia University. She taught French at Morehouse College and tutored Martin Luther King Jr. when he was a student there. She moved to Montclair in the late 50s, where she raised her family and began an extraordinary political career. In 1968, she was elected as an Essex County freeholder, and in 1971, she was elected to the New Jersey State Senate. She was the first African-American woman in the state Senate, and she represented Essex County for 27 years in the New Jersey legislature. Over those years, she became the strongest and most consistent voice in the legislature for women and people of color. She was the leading advocate for children, families, low-income people, small businesses, and people with AIDS. She tackled issues including employment discrimination, marriage law, child support, sexual assault, domestic violence, and the rights of children. Senator Lipman also taught at Essex County College and was a great supporter of New Jersey's community colleges. For many of her years in the Senate, she was the only woman and the only person of color there, always speaking up for those with the least access to the political process, always alert to the political implications of race and gender. And I really encourage all of you to learn more about this extraordinary political career, a real New Jersey treasure, by reading her full biography, which is on our website. We are honored tonight, I'm so glad she just arrived, to recognize Alma Saravia, who worked with Senator Lipman for many years when the senator chaired the New Jersey Commission on Sex Discrimination in the Statutes. Their tireless work together help transform the laws of New Jersey for the better. Alma, thank you so much for being here tonight. We are also really honored that our Secretary of State of New Jersey is here with us this evening, Secretary Tahisha Way. Thank you for joining us. And through the legislature's continuing support for the Lipman Chair, we have been able to bring an extraordinary roster of distinguished women to Rutgers to inspire us, and tonight is no exception. We are joined here tonight by Assemblywoman Linda Carter. There you go. And Assemblywoman, I hope you will go back and tell your colleagues how appreciative we are of the support that you have given and helping us continue honoring the memory of Senator Lipman. When we select a speaker for the Lipman Lecture, we look for parallels or connections with Senator Lipman, a logic that suggests the person would be a good fit for this role. And this year we found 4 such women, and the fit is beyond perfect. Donna Brazile, Yolanda Caraway, Leah Daughtry, and Minyon Moore, the authors of For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Politics, have, with the help of Veronica Chambers, written a book that, while not specifically about Wynona Lipman, it reflects the senator's experiences on almost every page. Their individual bios are in your program, but they are 4 of the most accomplished and respected Democratic political operatives and analysts on the scene today. They call themselves the Colored Girls, and between them, they have worked on the presidential campaigns of Jesse Jackson, Walter Mondale, Michael Dukakis, Bill Clinton, Al Gore, Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton. They have worked at the top of the corporate world in unions, in churches, in their own business, and with people outside the Oval Office who have shaped our country's history, including Ron Brown, Howard Dean, Reverend Herbert Daughtry, Coretta Scott King, Betty Shabazz, and Terry McAuliffe. Like Senator Lipman, these four women have spent their careers, as they put it, hurrying history so that every American, regardless of race, gender, or religious background, can have a seat at the table. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Donna Brazile, Yolanda Caraway, Leah Daughtry, and Minyon Moore. Can you hear us?
I know you can see us. Ooh-wee.
Here we go.
Oh, boy.
So, this is quite a challenge, let me just tell you. Making sure that I can moderate all four of you. So I want to say, first of all, thank you. Thank you to all of you. It is not easy to get these four women on the same schedule, and I cannot tell you how much we appreciate you taking the time to come to New Jersey. Donna has been a good friend of the Center for American Women in Politics and of mine for almost 3 decades, maybe more. I know.
I'm not telling my age.
I know. And the thing that we always love about Donna is that we can ask her almost anything, and she almost always says yes to us. So, well, you're pretty good about that. And I have to tell you, Minyon, Leah, Yolanda, I have been admiring you from afar before this book. And I am so pleased to welcome you to Rutgers, and I hope that this is not your last visit here. So I'm going to take a little bit of time to ask some questions, and then we're going to turn it over to all of you. So think about what you want to ask and make sure they're really smart questions, okay? Don't...
No sermon, because we have a live preacher here.
So your book tells a really powerful story of friendship over the decades, and it charts amazing careers that have been at the center of some of the most important and pivotal moments in modern political history. But it also tells a history that just doesn't get told enough, and that's the powerful role that African Americans have played in shaping the Democratic Party and our nation's politics and policy. And you really have come, the four of you, from very different places. Donna from Kenner, Louisiana, Yolanda from Rochester, New York, Leah from Brooklyn, yay, Brooklyn, Minyon from Chicago. I'm wondering if you could tell us what brought the four of you together, how you sort of got together, and why this book, and why this book now?
Well, we first got together. Donna and I were the first ones to meet, and it was back in 1980, 81.
We've been doing this for 2 months, and she still can't get that.
We've been doing this since October 2nd.
And she still can't get it.
It was the spring of 1982.
Welcome
Go
to
on.
a conversation with
Okay,
the colored girl.
spring 1982. Thank you, Donna.
Spring of
Thank you.
1982.
I knew you would know the exact date.
Because Yolanda reminded me that I had on a blue skirt and a white top, and I said, yeah, I wore that for 5 years because I didn't make money.
But anyways, I was working for then Congresswoman Barbara Mikulski in her Washington office, and I had the job of legislative correspondent, which meant I answered all of the constituent mail. And that's all I did all day long, just sit there and write. So one day, I had a little cubicle. There were probably about 5 of us in this one room. and someone came in to ask me if I would meet with a young lady that came by and wanted to speak to someone about the King holiday. Well, I hadn't been there that long, so I knew that, you know, people were trying to get a King holiday. I didn't know Donna. So I said, well, why are they asking me to meet with her? I'm just a lowly robo-operator. So I went out front, and the place was so small, I had to go out in the hall to meet with her. But as soon as I saw her, I knew why they asked her to meet with me. But I was so happy, and I think we were both overjoyed because we finally found someone that looked like us, you know, that we could relate to, because there were just so few people back then. So Donna and I were first. I met Minyon, Jackson campaign. I went to work for Reverend Jackson after the '84 campaign, and I was kind of like the liaison between the Rainbow and Operation Push, and that's where I met Minyon, and she'll tell you her story. Leah, I knew of, but I didn't really know her. In 90. No, he was elected in 89, yeah. Okay, I thought it was 90. Okay.
So now that we've established that
Okay.
Yolanda is the
I'm of a
oldest,
certain age, so. I'm of a
having
certain age,
trouble
so y'all just
remembering
be patient
dates.
with me. Just be patient.
but we love
But
her.
anyways, I was running the site selection process for the 90, thank you, Leah, the 92 Democratic Convention. Must have been that glass of wine. The 92 Democratic Convention. And I was looking for an assistant. And she came very, very highly recommended by several different people. She was working for a congressman on the Hill. And she came over to me. And I knew her dad. I don't know if she knew that she knew I knew her dad. And when she got there, I mean, she'd have gotten that job unless she grew horns or something. But I could tell she was nervous. So I think I was kind of gentle with you. Okay, was I nice?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, you were nice.
Okay, so that's my meeting story.
I don't think it was as much the dates that we met each other, but it was perhaps the moment that we all came together to get involved in politics. 1984 was that year in American politics that many of us recall Reverend Jackson launched a historic campaign. And soon after we passed the King holiday, Minyon found herself, of course, working up in Chicago, not only with Operation Push, but also for Harold Washington, because Harold Washington was launching a very important mayoral campaign. I was coming off the 20th anniversary of Dr. King's historic March on Washington, having been hired by Mrs. King, which many of you might recall. Hiring somebody right out of college was, you know, an amazing feat, but let alone working for Mrs. King in the civil rights movement. I got to meet Leah when Leah was out of her diapers. She's the youngest of the four of us.
I'm the youngest.
Yeah, that's all right. And in this crowd, that don't mean nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, she just have to carry her own bags. The rest of us need help. But you know, Leah.
She needed help with her bags.
Yeah. But we come out of a tradition. I think what brought us together, Debbie, is that we came out of a tradition of service and wanting to carry on the legacy of those who came before us. We're all mindful of that legacy, and I think having the Jackson campaign to really propel us to take our seats at the table, you know, and remember at that hour, before the Me Too movement, before all these other movements, we found ourselves at times being the only women in the room, let alone the only women of color, and sometimes the only women. I used to tell people in Dukakis campaign, I think I was like a fourfer, not a twofer. One, I was black, and I was proud to be black. Two, I was a woman, I was proud to be a woman. Three, I was from the South, I was proud to be from the South. And four, I didn't go to Ivy League school. I couldn't. And so, but it was our value system that brought us together. And it's a value system that we still hold and believe in, to bring others in the room, to find more seats at the table that enables us, after 30 plus years of being involved in American politics. So 3 of us are still on the members of the Democratic National Committee. We're on the Rules Committee. We will help set the rules for the Democratic Party primary. And that is part of our mission. That is what Jesse Jackson and many of those in the Civil Rights Movement instilled in us, and Shirley Chisholm and others, to be a part of the process and to help change American politics so that all of us, not just blacks, not just females, everyone would have a seat at the table, and that is what we have strived to do over the last 30-plus years, is to give everybody a seat, even if you have to bring in some folding chairs.
So, but the book, I hope if you haven't already bought it and read it, you really need to read it. It is an incredible weaving together of stories of what's happening now, looking to the future, but also about a deep and important and rich history. And this moment, in this moment that we're all living through, what made you decide this was the moment to write this book? What do you want to have come from the writing of this book and telling this story?
Well, it's actually, we didn't start out with a book. We have a good friend. She is out of Hollywood. And if you know anything about Hollywood, they love sensationalism. And so she was coming to a lot of our dinners, and she said, you know, you girls really should tell your story. You really have a story to tell. And we kept thinking, yeah, right. You know how political people are. We don't have time to be thinking about what Hollywood is thinking about. We're really trying to elect people to office so that they can serve this country. But then she kept after us. So then she decided she was going. She said, well, is it okay if I write a treatment? So we said, sure, write the treatment. And the treatment is, you know, she wanted to write a little synopsis of what she thought this could be like on TV. Then she decided she wanted to pitch it to Oprah. Well, Oprah thought it was a great idea. So Oprah signed on, and she had a first look deal with HBO, and so she decided to help her pitch it to HBO. So the next thing we know, we get a call saying, can you guys come to California to meet with HBO? And we're all like still thinking about, well, what has she done? But then, you know, the girls and us came out. We said, oh, great, this will be a great trip. We'll go sleep in somebody's hotel. We'll eat on them for free. Oh, why not? So we get there. We're in this big conference room with all these executives, and they're pitching this story, and we're like, just like you just saw us dissolve into our own conversation. We're like talking to each other. And then some executive looked up. He says, oh, I want that. And we're like,
First he said you got enough stories for 5
oh, yeah. Do you have enough stories for 5 years? I think Yolanda said, oh, we got enough stories for 30 years. And then we start talking to each other again. And then, and then the next thing we know, they want to sign us. And it's very rare when you go to Hollywood and they want to sign you that day. So by that time, we said, oh, my God, we might need to get us a lawyer. So fast forward, we started getting the script. The script was loosely based on and when I say loosely based on our character, it was loosely. So I was an African-American woman who worked for the White House, who was a political director. I said, yeah. Then I was dating a white New York Times reporter. I'm like, no. And I was giving secrets away, and I'm like, they might do that now, but I don't do that. And then Donna's name was Monica, and I had to listen to her yell in my phone one night, I cannot be named Monica! And I'm like, oh, Jesus. But Leah, who is our gospel bishop, she has the best. Yolanda was just prim and proper, but she also was devilish.
Funny name.
Yeah.
Edith Ann.
Yeah, somebody. But Leah's character was, go ahead, Leah. I just can't.
So you get this treatment, you start reading it, and quickly figure out what I have deliberately forgotten what my character's name was.
It was Reverend something.
Yeah, it was Reverend somebody, I don't remember. So I'm reading, and the character was a minister, a Pentecostal minister, which I am, a Pentecostal pastor, which I am, who was a chief of staff at the DNC, which I was. But she also has some children of unknown origin, which I do not.
Let the church say,
And she was having an affair with the deacon, which, yeah, he was the boyfriend.
Yeah.
Was the deacon. Oh, I might have, by the time I got to that, I just was like, okay, no. No, all my Brooklyn rose up in me. And I said, I cannot. I cannot. I will be brought before the mother's board. I will lose my pulpit because it was close enough to who I really am that I would never be able to convince the elders of the church that it was not me. And they'd be up in my house looking for the deacon and the children. It's like, this right here can't work. Can't work.
So then we decided to let a friend of ours, we said, okay, listen, this is Hollywood, it's sensational, that's what they have to do. So we let a friend of ours read it who we really respect. He read it, and he went, oh, no, y'all can't do this. And what he did say to us, which really resonated, you have a history to tell, and you have a history to uphold. And you have to lay down your own history before you end up doing something like that. So as Leah liked to say, when we gave the money back, we were serious. So that's how we got to the book.
Well, I'm glad you wrote the book. We sold out of the book, by the way, but we will be
go
signing.
online.
Yeah, you
get
can
it.
go online and get it, but they will be signing at the end. So I love the book, and your description of the 2016 election, it's really moving. It's a little hard to read without churning up lots of emotions that many of us shared on the night of November 8th and in the following weeks and the following months. But out of that moment came an energy that led to the Women's March, the reigniting of the hashtag #MeToo movement, the resistance, which was largely led by women, and of course, record numbers of women candidates. And while we celebrate those records and the incredible firsts that we saw as a result of those 2018 elections, at the end of the day, women still make up less than 25% of Congress. So I want to ask all of you, how do we keep the momentum that we started to see in 2016 and through 2018? How do we keep that going? And how can we ensure, in Minyon's words, that this is, quote, not an event, but a lifestyle? How do we make that happen?
Well, I think we've got what we need to encourage us to go out and do anything in the White House. As long as he's there, I think people are going to be motivated. They're not going to stop, we can't stop being motivated. Now, if we get another Democratic president, I hope we don't get lazy again. And we still need to stay on top of it, need to hold them accountable, stay on top of it. But, as long as he's there, we've got to keep our eye on the prize.
We have to inspire more women to run. We have to fill the political pipeline. There are over 520,000 political offices in this country. And less than 4% of Americans raise their hand and say, I'm ready to run. But for women, it takes 2, 3, sometimes 4, 5? 5 didn't.
Need to be recruited.
We have to recruit them. They have to be encouraged. We have to support them. Why is it that help me, Debbie, why is it that over 54% of registered voters elect only 24% of women? Because we don't see ourselves as leaders. We're the leaders we've been waiting for. And we shouldn't have to wait until 2085 to reach parity. We need to, as one of my colleagues said recently, we need to not only hurry history, but we need to begin now to recruit young women in high school. We cannot wait until you're 40 with 2 children. I want to make fun of Leah so bad, I'm holding myself back. I can sensationalize that story, but I am not Monica. Trust me. But we need to get women to think about public service early. And we have the talent and ability to do it. And what I try to encourage people every day is to see themselves as future governors, future leaders, future judges, etc. Early this morning, I was watching television. I'm not going to tell you the channel because that's not the one I work for right now. I just learned where that channel is. I had to go to, the Siri on the little button, say, Fox News. I now know the channel. And I'm glad to be a part of Fox. But I was watching, and they said, within the next 15 years, the majority of voters will be people of color. And yet, what are we doing today to prepare people of color to serve in those offices? If they don't know their voting power today, why will they know it 15 years from now when they're the majority of voters? Women, you are already the majority of voters. You're the majority of consumers. You don't have to wait for a man to tell you to run. Run.
I think it's less a question of how do we keep it going than what can stop it. It's already in motion. I was at Sheeted People on whatever day that was. I don't know what day it is anymore. And the energy in the room from 2,000 women who were just regular voters, these were not elected people, who were engaged and paying attention to the issues, was palpable. Folks are ready to change the nation. And I think the only thing that stands in our way is ourselves. And we have to decide that we're running. The tools are out there. There's so many training programs and so many you can run if you want to run. And it takes me to this whole issue that's been in the news lately of electability, which is driving me nuts. Who's electable? Who's electable? Nobody thought Barack Obama was electable. We make people electable. And we decide that someone's electable or someone is not. And the more we hold this goal of picking a candidate because we think they're electable, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we make them electable because we decided they're electable. Like we made Barack Obama electable. If you recall, nobody thought he could win until after he won. Until after he won Iowa, and then everybody got on the bandwagon. But those first few months, people were like, no, it'll never happen. It'll never happen. It's the same thing now as we're looking at these presidential candidates. And I hear people saying, well, I want the one that's electable. They're all electable if we vote for them. So who are you willing to get behind and work for and get out there and get other people to vote? And the same thing with women candidates. Any of us can run and win. All you have to do is get people behind you. All you have to do, that's no easy task, but are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to do what you got, raise the money? Are you willing to knock on the doors? Are you willing to, do the media and all of that has to be done in order for you to win an election? But we have to see ourselves as people who can be elected and who have something to say to the nation and something to do with how we change what we're fighting for in this nation. Only we can talk ourselves out of it.
Is a Dorian in here? Is she still here? Where is
Dorian?
Okay, she's your perfect example of demystifying politics. This baby just won her first election. She's on the school board, so please support her. I remember when she decided to run. How old are you now? 23 years old. And let me just tell you something. You owe it to yourself if you're on social media. You owe it to yourself to go to her Instagram page and to go to her Twitter page. She ran this campaign like she was running for U.S. Senate, which I hope she will one day. She was aggressive. She took nothing for granted. This is a kid running for school board. She was raising money like candidates run. Nobody told her how to do it. She just had the will to do it. And I think part of what's wrong with politics today is we believe that there's some mysticism around how you do it. If you go out to your garbage can and your garbage is not picked up, that's politics. And you just have to see yourself knowing that whatever you do in life is political and just get involved. Go to these people's office. When I really, and I mean this, people think of campaigning and voting like it's an event. It really is a lifestyle. We elect all these great people. We never come back to see them until after it's time for them to run again. Then we're angry with them. The energy should never go away because this is your life. It's your children's lives. Now she's going to tell your children how their school board is going to be run, so y'all better check in with her too.
So, Leah, you brought up the She the People Presidential Forum that was held just a few days ago. You were just there. And it was really a remarkable event. For the first time, we saw presidential candidates speaking specifically and directly to the concerns and the priorities of women of color. And I would say some of the candidates did a little better than others.
Just a little.
Just a little. But it was clear that almost all of those candidates recognized the power of the votes of women of color. And you were one of the co-chairs of the event, and you said in a very powerful opening, and I would commend to all of you, if you haven't seen it, go online, watch it. It'll take a few hours of your time, but it's really worth it. But
All of the hours are not me.
no,
I'm just 5 minutes.
but you were really good. But she opened by saying, among other things, "We say to candidates, you can overlook us, dismiss us, demean us, and patronize us if you want to, but you do it at your own peril. If you put us last on your list, we put you last on our list because our votes matter." So I'd like all of you to talk a little bit about the relationship between women of color and black women in particular to the Democratic Party. You asked the question in your book, what do black women owe the party and what does the party owe black women? And I'm wondering how you would all answer that question or those questions. Ooh,
We owe the party nothing. They owe us everything. Black voters are 25% of the Democratic primary electorate. You cannot win the Democratic nomination without black voters. That's hashtag math. We have not always seen a return on our investment in the party. Now, I do want to caveat, there is no question that when it comes to legislative achievements, social policy, the Democrats are far and away, head and shoulders above what the alternative is. So when we say they've done nothing for us, that's not true. We have Social Security, we have Medicare, we have Medicaid. All of the social net policies that protect the least of these in this country are Democratic Party initiatives. And I'm grateful for those, and I'm happy that the Democrats were sharing the lead on that. When it comes to the pure political construct in terms of who's running for office, how candidates are funded, how campaigns are funded, then I think that the party has not necessarily, let me take that out, necessarily out. The party has not returned the investment to people of color that for the votes that we give to the party, not out of being lemons, just following along, but because we recognize the choices and recognize that the other choice is not a choice. And so what I'm looking for the party to do is to invest more in organizations that are run by women of color, invest more in candidates of color, and by candidates of color right now, I mean black people, and to see them put the financial resources, money where the mouth is, for what we give to them, understanding that they cannot win without us.
Well, I agree with Leah. I'm very grateful as a daughter of the South for the leadership of the Democratic Party over the last 59 years. The Democratic Party has had a huge shift. When Fannie Lou Hamer came to this great state to demand a seat at the table back in 1964, the party had two options: to keep the door closed or to open it up to people of color. They chose to open it up. And as a result of that decision, the party has changed. Prior to Fannie Lou Hamer, only 48% of African Americans supported the Democratic Party in the '56 election. And after the '64 election, you saw a huge shift. 82% supported Lyndon Johnson. So we deserve more. Now that what? How many percent black women? 96%? 96%. When Leah said, we don't owe you nothing, we are giving you everything we have. 112 of the electoral votes that the Democratic Party rely on every 4 years come because of our turnout, because of our loyalty. And as a result of that, there should be some type of recognition for that. But instead, every 2 years, every 4 years, and you don't have to ask us. We're operatives, we're strategists, we're analysts. Talk to some of the black female candidates. Ask them how hard it's been just to get support. And not just from the mainstream Democratic Party organizations, sometimes from women's organizations. So we are willing to vote in record numbers. We're willing to embrace the Democratic Party, the values, the platform. But as we approach the second decade of the 21st century, or is this the third decade? The second. There needs to be some recognition that we are leaders too. That we just want a seat at the table. Now, I've been chair of the party twice by accident, both times. I like that because it was not on my bucket list. And Mr. Putin, if you're listening, I am not in line for secession. But we should ask ourselves, as we look around this country, every time there's a vacancy, every time a black woman or a woman, period, stands up and say, I'm interested in running, we should not discourage her. We should not say, wait in line, wait your turn. That's over. And my message is, why you? Because there's no one better, and why now? Because tomorrow's not soon enough. What are we waiting for? I'm ready.
If I'm not mistaken, most of the women that ran in 2018 ran without permission. I mean, they didn't go to the state party, they didn't go through the state party, they didn't get help from them. They did it on their own. They just decided they were gonna do it, and that was gonna be it. And I think this is I hope this is a pattern. I really do.
We've been talking about that this seems like something has shifted, and the question is, will this be a one-off, or will it be the new normal, right? And we're hoping it's the new normal.
And we have to insist that it's the new normal. We go to too many meetings with pollsters and strategists where there's this false competition of, do you do outreach to the people of color, or do you do outreach to I love when they say the working class, as though people of color are not in the working class. And it's like, that's a false construct. And we have to be insistent on saying, we're not having that conversation. The fact of the matter is, we know who votes. Look at Stacey Abrams for an example. And she was not endorsed by the party until she got past her primary, although the party did endorse in the New York gubernatorial. They endorsed the incumbent Andrew Cuomo, who is my governor, but the rule of the party not getting involved in primaries got broken there, but it couldn't get broken for Stacey. But she ran a different kind of campaign and went to voters in rural areas who never get touched. And she was able to come within 55,000 votes of the gubernatorial prize. And let's not discount voter suppression and the game playing that was happening. She should have won. But she refused to engage in this argument of, let's get the black people out. Oh, no. We better focus on the white people, white working class, over against the other thing. But that conversation doesn't change unless we insist that it changes. In every room that we in, we say, no, you can do both. We can walk and chew gum at the same time, as Stacey Plaskett showed us.
Kind of connected to this, exactly this question. The 2020 presidential election, I think we can all agree, started on November 7th, 2018, right? And we now have 20 candidates running on the Democratic side. including a record-breaking 6 women. For the first time in history, we're going to see a debate stage, a primary debate stage, with more than 1 woman. There are 6 people of color running, including 2 women of color. But we've been hearing these reports of Democratic voters being nervous about selecting a woman or a person of color as the nominee this time. We've been hearing this even more since Joe Biden entered the race last week. I was on a radio show recently when a very nice young man called in and suggested that if the Democrats really want to win in 2020, they need to nominate a traditional candidate. Now, I think we all know what we mean, what that
Well,
was
traditional
code
candidate
for.
was Hillary Clinton,
Right,
and they didn't
yeah.
do that.
Yeah, pale, male, and over 65, that's code, right? So what would you say to that young man, to Democratic voters, and frankly to the media, right, who is raising this issue all the time? It goes back to your conversation about electability, but this fear that somehow pick a woman, pick a person of color, or heaven forbid, pick both, the Democrats can't win.
You know what, and it's so interesting to listen to this conversation because, first of all, this is the first time in the history of the Democratic Party that we do have, I guess you could say reasonably, that we have a plethora of people to pick from. But I think what our challenge is, and this is where I think we always get stuck with Democrats, who's up, who's down, who's in, who's out, how much money is this person raising? And I think for us as individuals, and I say this all the time, if there is a candidate that you like, if you want them to win, then get behind them. Start working for them. Get out there. It doesn't matter whether it's a female or a male. The real end goal, the challenge that we really have is everybody wants Trump out. So everybody is trying to size up who can take Trump out. I mean, that's really, you know, you used to have the electability question is really not the question. The reason why Joe Biden's, I think, his video ricocheted around the world is because he put his finger in the moral dike of this country. And we all know that our country is being thrown off in the most bastardly ways. Our children are seeing and receiving signals that we're going to have to deprogram for years to come, and he is absolutely correct. And I'm not endorsing him, but his message about moral civility and dignity resonated because we can say, with the exception of a few of those Democrats, we could live with almost all of them, and we could train almost all of them. I don't know any president that walks into office that knows how to be president. Right? Well, if you can be vice president, you might know how to be president, but there's no roadmap for that. So I suggest that you just get the noise out your ears because I think cable is destructive. I pray to God cable ain't in here. But it is because it pits you against all the good issues that people think about. You never get to hear people talk with any level of civility. Everybody is arguing with each other. And it won't be the first time.
Or the second time.
Right.
Maybe the third time is a charm, man.
She don't mind. She will stand by it, so that's okay. But no, the real point is just find your compass and talk to your friends. Do not wait on somebody, some poll or some pundit to tell you who's the best candidate. If you want a female candidate, if you want Elizabeth Gorbachev, Kamala Harris, so who else we got? Oh. And them, if y'all want them, then go for them. I mean, seriously, when I tell you, get behind them. Put your money behind them. I have given to 5 Democratic candidates. How much? Well, literally, I have given, I had to go back and kind of even it out because I was giving $500 to this one, $500 to that one. I don't have no money, but I'm like so serious about this raise, and then I said, oh man, I only gave this person $250. People might think I'm racist, so I had to up it. So I had to up it, and even because I wanted to make sure everybody had the same amount. But my point is,
There's too many of them for $500.
I know, but I'm serious. I am
Yeah,
serious about
with
this
100.
race. I gave it for Dorian, who I know can't give it. So
Started for
I'm
50.
trying to put people in the game
You
on
should have
this.
started with 50.
I should, well, 50 go to
25.
Marianne Williamson in that crowd, okay?
Donna used to give 99 because it didn't report it, right?
Seriously.
Well,
no,
with the new
but my point is-
look, with the new debate rules, I gave quite a few of them some money. I didn't do $500, but you know the debate rules, they have to have so many contributions.
Well,
When
you
I-
ain't helped
so-
Corey enough. He got to get some. Hey, y'all
Corey
better
need-
help Corey.
Corey needs some help.
Not yet.
Here's the rule.
Corey's not made the debate stage yet. But I told my friends,
$5
if you
for
want to
Corey
see
in here tonight,
if you want to
people.
see whoever on the debate stage, send them $5. There's no,
Yes.
you don't have to send a lot of money.
5 times
Send them
20 is
$5.
100. That's a lot of money. That's
they gonna
3
drag 'em.
tanks. Okay, look.
But here's the thing: if you want to help Corey get on the debate stage for real, because this is New Jersey,
Give him some money. Pull
not
out your
just send him
phone.
some money. Call your friends in other states, because they have to have 200 contributions in 20 different states.
Read the New York Times today.
So I'm sure I'm sure all of y'all New Jersey people have already given him some money. So call your mama in Louisiana
That's
and,
right.
and, your, and
Here's
auntie
the
in North
headline
Carolina. Tell her
tonight.
send them $5.
Color girls.
It would
color
be a
girls
shame if New
encourage-
Jersey wasn't represented. This fine.
And then
state.
call Corey and tell him we helped him get some money.
I mean, I'm just here to tell y'all, it would be a shame.
It sure would be a shame if the only black
but you
man
didn't
can't
know
get
you were
on
gonna
the
make
debate
this
stage.
kind
Oh
of
my
money.
God, it would be a
That's
shame.
gonna be embarrassing.
Corey needs your help.
For the culture, y'all, for the culture. Send that man some money.
Now, we have just elected Cory Booker.
No, y'all just told the story that he ain't resonating.
Who said he ain't resonating?
Well, he doesn't have the money to go on the debate stage. He's not resonating.
He's qualifying by poll numbers, but he's
Yeah.
not qualifying by money.
Okay, that's right. That's right.
Money.
I'm
By
glad
money,
you
but
clarified.
you know,
But you can
we
get
can't
money.
have him out there. And I'm not endorsing anybody, but we can't have a man up there because he don't have he ain't raised $65,000. I mean, come on now.
Come
We got to
on.
help the brother get on
See.
meet that money threshold. Y'all know what I'm saying.
So
For the
here's
culture, for the culture.
We the people, not she the people.
for the people. I thought. That's Kamala. Okay, I'm okay. So we have 21 candidates, possibly 22, because I do believe that Bullock, once his legislature terms out, Bullock is still interested. So there's a possibility we might end up with 22. Don't worry about it.
Yes.
Okay, come Memorial Day, there will be 22, maybe 25. All right.
That's right.
By July 4th, there will be 20. By Labor Day, there will be 15. By Thanksgiving, there will be 12. Because when they figure out what it takes to qualify to get on the ballot, and in some ballot, their names won't appear, but their delegates will,
Right.
trust me, this is really, like, good. Y'all fall in love with all of them.
Yeah.
Just don't have sex with any of them. Be courted. Enjoy the passion. Become aroused by their oratory.
Okay. All right.
And the next question.
Moving right
Yeah, I'm
along.
gonna rein her in, right? I'm gonna rein her in.
Have this go on
Okay.
and on and on. And fall in love with Beto.
I'm about to
and-
pull the
and
holy oil out my
Buttigieg
bag.
And all the rest of them. I mean, get this
Minyon, you might
romantic
want to get
stuff
her mic.
going.
And you didn't have no wine.
No. I've been taking sinus tabs.
Can
And
we get her
Benadryl.
some wine, please?
Oh, no, if I get wine, I get fined. Don't start it.
So,
Oh.
I'm just gonna jump in here with another question.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
So, female presidential candidates seem to get a lot of unsolicited advice, right? Smile more, be more likable, be authentic, but don't be emotional, talk more about policy, talk less about policy, and on and on
Don't
and
carry a
on.
handgun.
Don't. That's good advice. So I think the women who are running this cycle would really appreciate knowing what the four of you think they should do in the face of this very crowded field.
I'll start because I've said it to a couple of them, and no, I have. One of the things that I noticed even when Hillary ran is the thing that I found that was the most, I guess, troubling and I guess the most difficult, especially for women candidates, is you lose your compass. And you have so many new people around you that are telling you, you got to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this, you have to do that. And if you don't have a core about who you are, and she did, but you know, the campaigns get so large, and you just have so many advisors, but you really do have to know who you are coming into this. Because if you don't, the American people will see it, number one, but number two, you will always find yourself shifting with the wind because you know, they'll ask you a question on a debate stage like, should felons, murderers, terrorists, and all of them vote? And you go, I'll think about it. No, you don't think about that. That is a flat out no. You lose your rights when you go to jail and you're a terrorist and a murderer and a rapist. That's why you go to jail. Now, when you come out, if you get out, and your rights are restored, but it's those type of things that I think women have a tendency to just not trust themselves the way men do. Men will walk into a room and they will own the room and they will own a lie.
Be loud and wrong.
Haven't we seen it every time it comes out of the White House? But women, they're so much more authentic and honest and pure, and some of it is just simply they just won't trust themselves. So I say, number one, trust yourself.
I tell them, what I've said is wake up every day and remind yourself why you're running. That's got to be your North Star.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? You and not her, or you and what makes you the one? Remind yourself every day, and then to Minyon's point, make sure you've got somebody in your campaign who's going to help you stay true to center. Because it's a very heady environment, and people are pulling on you. You go and hear that. Somebody's got to be the one to say, why you say that? You can't do that. That doesn't sound like you. That's not who you are. To always bring you back, to be a touchstone of sorts, so that you can remember why you're doing this. And then run your campaign. Trust your instincts. Right. Don't hand over your campaign to the boys.
Or the kids.
Or the kids. Yeah. Run your campaign. Understand what's happening with your campaign, with your money. What's going on. You shouldn't be looking up going, what happened to the money? You should know what happened to the money. It cannot be a campaign that does not reflect who you are. And when you turn it over to somebody else, without the check-in, without the touchstone, without the touchback, it can become a campaign that you don't recognize and that is not reflective of your own values.
I agree with both of them. I think they're absolutely right. I tell people to just be yourself. You know, I look back on, and men do it too. Men do it too. I look back, I was thinking back when you were talking about that, about Al Gore. When Al Gore ran, every single debate, he was a different person. You didn't know who he was going to show up at.
Remember khaki Al Gore?
That's because he wasn't listening to Donna, I know that. But he just,
you remember, there was Al Gore with the khakis, then it was Al Gore with the earth tones.
She was trying to be alpha.
Exactly. It was what?
Let's not go there.
But this is an example. It's just an example of what I'm saying about people not being themselves, and they bring on these great campaign gurus, and they let them tell them what to do or what they think they should be doing, and they listen. But I agree, they need to listen to their own instincts and be themselves, because people can see right through that.
We still have a national media that is fixated on the horse race. They're fixated on where you stand in the polls. And when they cannot do the horse race, it's always about the negative. And I got to the point in 2016, before I left the air to become chair again, I got to the point where, is she likable? Is she likable? I'm like, who's dating her? She's married. okay? And by the way, Tina Turner was right. What's love got to do with it? But Hillary never could get a firm grip on the media. They wrote the story before she decided to run again. And so it was not a, I never had one positive day on television. I was on television 2-3 times a day about Hillary, not one. Hillary Clinton had policy proposals from Zika virus all the way up to Alzheimer's, everything. And to know Hillary Clinton in her campaign was to know policy. And yet when you got on TV ready to talk about this, they would have opposite of you, the former Miss USA. And I would sit there and like, what are we talking about? Because the story was healthcare, and she was, I don't like Obamacare. Well, she didn't have a thing, Section 1201 is how Congress appropriates the money. She looked at me like I was crazy because we were talking about the 4th District ruling, and she was like, but I don't like Obamacare. I'm like, well, why are you on TV? Because that's what they like. Okay, so they have, what do you call it, Minyon? They majored in the minors. And it's not the substance, it's the superficiality. And women get caught up into that, women candidates. They're treated much differently. I'll never forget when I was on TV back in 2008, when right after the New Hampshire, no, right before the New Hampshire primary. And they're like, and there were Wolf Blitzer and 3 other panelists. And they're all talking about menopause. I'm serious, 3 men. I'm sitting there and I'm like, what do they know about menopause? Well, maybe they do. Maybe they have a spouse at home. Maybe they know somebody. But they kept going into why she was emotional. And I'm like, oh my God. And God forbid one day we talked about cleavage. I said, what? I'm looking at these jokers and I'm like, are y'all serious? So the national media, and I think I can say this. I get so annoyed at times with the national media and the coverage. It is, I can't read half of it because it's like, what the hell is that? They know nothing about the process, and yet they're treating women candidates to a totally different standard. First of all, let's talk about it. I'll give you 1 second. Bernie's back, really? Beto is returning. And by the way, we had to go on that whole drive with him as he made up his mind.
And we had to go to the dentist with him. Like, really?
And remember,
he lost me with the dentist.
I love all of them. And I love how I can profess my faith and be out and gay. And yes, that sounds good. Yes. And then the next day, I'm out and I'm gay. Yes, that's good. But meanwhile, Elizabeth Warren has 4 policy positions. Of course, my butt then read all 4. And I'm waiting to talk about Elizabeth and land use, Elizabeth and the student debt, $1.5 trillion in student debt, and I'm talking about, huh? And I'm like, really? So I can never get, and then Biden comes back. I'm talking about the soul. Meanwhile, here come Kamala with a proposal on HBC, and teachers pay. I have all the policy in my head, but we're not going to get to that.
But you know, the
today
one
is
thing
not the policy day. It's to talk about what the boys are doing.
The one thing that we don't do, and we need to do enough, we need to do it enough. We have to demand that the women candidates are treated with a level of dignity. And you have to get on social media, or you have to call whatever your sphere of influence is, you really do have to demand that they treat them, because half the time I don't even think they see them. They must see, I don't know who they really see when they're looking at these women candidates. And I think, I will just say this lastly, when it comes to women candidates, and everybody knows this, my passion for life is how women are perceived in the media, on film, and on TV. And part of what the challenge is, and I don't think we'll ever be able to correct it in 220, part of what the challenge is, women have lost their narrative because we're not out there enough. And they don't see us. They can't see a female president. People cannot see that because we've never given them that visual. They barely can see us in Congress. How many congressional members do you see playing a congressional member on TV? How many? The only thing you see is Secretary of State, and you see a Veep who's mostly a comedian, but she's great. because I love her. So we don't even have a barometer on how to look at female candidates. That's why you have to demand a standard for them if you expect them to win.
And not only in the media, not only in politics, but you don't see women CEOs talking about the economy. You don't see. That's why I love that coach from Notre Dame, the woman. When she said, I mean, we're female coaches, and y'all don't even know it's us. I mean, of a women's basketball team. And so, it's the lack of visibility hurts us when we become national figures. I have to tell y'all one thing. Don't laugh at me. Y'all know why I like watching Queen Victoria, all them little shows? It's because don't you know that for centuries they have seen women as queens and as leaders. And I love when they're bossy. We are not going to war. And when the prime minister comes and she summons him and then tells him to sit down, I'm learning my skills watching Queens. I'm ready. Sit down. Go fetch the dogs.
And if she learned those skills from the Queen, that would be a step up, trust me. Because she will no longer be cursing them out.
Yeah, I will tell you to go to hell.
And see, and to Donna's point, what we're seeing with the way that women are being treated, with the way that the men of Corey's being treated, this is an outgrowth of the racism and sexism that has been inherent in our country since its founding, since the founding documents. This country founded because we were trying to get away from the Queen. Right? So where Europe is accustomed to royalty and women in battle and women as commanders, we've never had that in this country because that's not the basis on which our country was founded. So part of this is just an outgrowth of the racism and sexism that we have never dealt with. And until we deal with it, you're going to get this week, Kamala, somebody in the USA Today, she's disqualified because she owns a handgun. Well, are y'all asking, Buttigieg has a handgun, and so does Beto, and so are these others, but they're not disqualified. That doesn't make any sense.
They don't have handguns, they have rifles.
They not ask me what I have.
So it's ridiculous. But what we have to do is, oh Lord Jesus, help me. What we're going to have to do is make ourselves a committee of one. When we hear those things, call up. Put it on social, say this is not acceptable. Retract it, change it. Your headline is wrong, because the more they hear from you, while we're promoting women in leadership, they need to understand, the male news directors and the male editors need to understand there's a bunch of women out there and some good men who are not going to have this and who are going to challenge you at every level until you treat everyone with the same playing field.
You're right, Leah. I never thought about that. We're talking about Bernie, Buttigieg, Beto, and we left out Booker. You're right. That B didn't make it. That B didn't make it. All right, I got that. Just the white bees. Okay.
So I have about 7 more questions, but I'm not going to ask them. But I think we have a few minutes. It's 8:15. We have a few minutes because I do want to make sure that we can have time for book signing. But is there a microphone? Who has microphones?
I'm sure Minyon want me to get mine up.
There. Okay.
One thing we really do want you to know is that we really are friends.
Yes, we are.
Did you not figure that out?
And we don't really all the time talk about politics. We will go to your house, as we did to Donna, and rearrange your furniture if the couch is in the wrong place.
That's right. Or the Christmas tree is off
Oh, the
center.
Christmas tree threw the whole thing off, so we just rearranged the whole living room.
And I haven't moved it. They did a good job. I didn't know they had the Finchase skills.
They didn't really even need me up here. Missy Balmier, question.
Hello. First, thank you so much. I stand on your shoulders, so I am so just blessed to be able to have learned so much from you. My question is, as a political operative in the state of New Jersey for almost 20 years, How do you sustain having seen that sausage made and the level of frustration that you feel because you are serious about what you do and you see the racism and the sexism within your party? How do you have done it for as long as you have done it? How have you not gone crazy, literally, or hurt someone in this business as an operative in particular? Because you're like really in the room when they say foul things, you know, things that you're kind of like, you know, if I were somewhere else, I would hit you, but I can't, so I'm just going to curse you out in a nice way. How do you sustain in that environment? Because I can tell you that I'm like, time to do something different, because it is very frustrating, because you just keep coming back to the same place and not seeing progress. I cried for 3 days when Trump won. I did. I was very upset, because I'm like, what have I been doing with my time that this man can make it to be president? Because it's serious for me. For me, it felt like black people are going to suffer, and we have. So I just need some encouragement, some words from you on how you have sustained to do this business for so long.
I can't answer truthfully without being truthful. It's hard. Over the last 10 days, the anger that I thought I had dissipated was still there, and my anger was so raw. And Leah said something, I don't know how long ago that was when we were together at the archives. Leah said something on April 19th that was halfway healing. I was still halfway healed. I went to church twice. I went to church twice. I actually went 3 times this month. That's why we've had so much bad weather. God was like, who's there? She back? What took you so long? But I'm Catholic, so I go 45 minutes. If I went to Leah's church, I'll still be there. First of all, everybody in the congregation.
We believe in the praise and the worship of the Lord.
Yes, yes.
However
And you know
long
what?
it takes.
And let me tell you that, and they'll be holding
I'm an in-betweener, bedside Baptist.
and look, they'll be holding their hands over me and praying over me and speaking in tongues, and I need all of that.
And she's going to answer your question
I am going to answer
momentarily.
your question. But Minyon, and then I reached out to Minyon, because I knew if anyone who could help me, it would be my sisters, because they know the troubles I've seen. They know that feeling, and I know that they will hold me. They saw me at my worst, at my lowest, and I knew I had to reach out. So number one, reach out. You don't hold this by yourself, and don't let nobody ever get you to the point where you want to hit them. I give that to God, okay? But you reach out, because there are many people who feel that same pain that you feel that can help. For me, and they know I got the Mueller report sitting right there, because I'm still struggling to get through it. We're not going to learn what happened until we know what happened. And, you know, listening to my sisters sometimes, they don't know I'm listening. I write down sometimes what they say so that I can go back and meditate on that. Sometimes Leah will do scriptures. Y'all know I want to be a preacher when I grow up. I got to stop cussing.
That means she got to come out to Catholic church.
You see, Debbie, we need another hour. But I'll let it go at that. You got to have, God didn't put you here by yourself. You need friends. You need to rely on your faith. And you need to know that when you're in this battle, you are in this battle for the long haul. And that all you got to do is read Harriet Tubman and just keep going.
I appreciate your sister's work. It's been absolutely incredible. And my question is really about, are the Democrats going to prepare for 2020? And so between the voter suppression rules that we've seen in different states across the country, and so Al Gore won in 2000, Hillary for 2.8 million, 2016, but somehow because of the way that the Republican structure manipulate things, then despite the fact that the popular vote shows that we should win, Democrats aren't winning. And so I just hope that in your role and in your advocacy that you're going to be able to help the Democrats be prepared, knowing there's some booby traps to come in 2020.
Well, we can say nothing but we agree with you, sir, because and we hope that, Donna mentioned earlier, we are all on the Rules Committee, but I do think that we are in uncharted waters and unprecedented times, and we do have to, as the kids say, be woke. And every time we're talking about voting, we have to remind people about voter suppression. You have to remind people that the Secretary of State's office controls a lot of those votes. We're lucky because we got a few of them back this time. But even when you're going to the polls, this is the thing that has happened over the last, I would say, maybe 8 years. We've gotten so high tech that we're not high touch anymore. And we got to start having poll watchers again. We got to make sure. And now there's a move to get paper ballots back. I don't know if it's, I don't know if it's early. I mean, I don't know if we're too late on that level or not. But we have to be vigilant, and we have to have our officers be vigilant with us. The state parties have to be checking now on the voting apparatuses, not next year.
Yes, my name is Beth Heyer. I'm with the League of Women Voters of New Jersey, and I'm on their education committee. And yes, I agree. And you referenced earlier on in your conversation that we need to start recruiting young women and recruiting them in high school. And my concern is that how do you suggest that we create a groundswell to get civics education back into the high schools?
I don't know the answer to the question, but I'm so glad you raised that. That is so important. I don't know, we've all got, the parents have to help, everybody has to help. Maybe we start with the PTAs. I don't know the exact answer to the question, but it's what?
School boards.
School boards.
Dorian.
Yep. Yeah, there you go. There you go, that's where you start.
Our curriculums today are shaped so that students can take a test. And that test is their gateway out of school, but it's not their gateway to being citizens. And so we need to teach about citizenship and give people the basic lessons of history. They have no idea. And that is something that I'm proud that I had as a youngster. In fact, I was Miss Ohio, the Buckeye State. I knew all my 50 state capitals. I knew everything. I couldn't wait to go back to school. Today, students dread it because they're taking tests. They're not really learning. We're just producing students who can take tests.
I have an example. The Marjorie Stoneman Douglas School in Parkland, Florida. Their principal said that those kids had been trained for years for that situation. They taught physics at that school. They taught public speaking, they taught advocacy, they taught organization, and that's why those kids were able to rise to that moment. That's what we got to do. We got to get this back in the schools.
Now, when I see a microphone, I want to sing, but I won't do that. My name's Lucille Lasapio, and I am 67, and I'm running for office this year. I'm very excited. And I want to say that I really hope that Stacey Abrams runs, because I love her. She is incredible. But my question or comment is, what I've noticed, and I've been a Democrat my whole life, this party has a problem with messaging. I mean, from the local level all the way up to the top, we don't know how to take advantage of anything. Obamacare was a great thing. So many more millions of people got health care, but we never talked about it the right way. The Republicans control that communication. What can we do to fix that, to make this party communicate better? Thank you.
What are you running for?
I'm running for Township Committee in Hazlet, and anybody here lives in Hazlet? All right.
Well, you got your messengers in the room, but you didn't even tell nobody what you were running for. Okay. No, you know what? It feels like to me deja vu with the party every 4 years, every 2 years. And the basic construct is the Democratic Party doesn't have a message. But do you have a message? Do you have a message that you want to carry to them? And I would contend on Obamacare, we probably should have never named it Obamacare. That's the first thing, because I think that just threw. Huh? Well, no, because he was all right with it, though. But anyway, that's a side point. That's really a side point, because that really wasn't the name of it. But I do think that we give too much authority to the parties and to people. We know, I bet each and every one of you in this room probably agree on the same 5 issues. Education, Social Security, Medicare, maybe y'all are for Medicare for all. Why is it that they do not hear your voice so that they can carry your message? We're expecting them to carry our message. Listen, they're listening to some poll that has come back from 100 voters, but you're the people. The people have the power. If we leave you with nothing else, it's the people that elect a politician. They can't tell you how you feel or what you need for your household. They can't tell you if daycare is important to you. You have to tell them. Come up with 5 issues and start bamming those 5 issues out. I bet you they hear you.
So I'm going to let you be the absolute last question, but I'm saying to the 4 of you, right.
Okay, we're going to do it quick. We're going to do it rapid.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Faith Wilson. I'm a high school student in North Plainfield.
Oh, wait. I want you to listen. I can't believe that you actually stopped talking for me. Go ahead.
We will never be in danger of missing our train.
No. But that's the thing. We have a hard stop for a train, so that's why I'm going to be tough on that one. Go ahead.
Okay, hi, my name is Faith Wilson. I'm a high school student in North Plainfield High School. And this question is for Ms. Daughtry. I'd like to add to your assertion that there's a false competition between serving colored people and the working class. How do you feel about the competition between serving God and serving our community when it comes to the church's involvement in politics? Studying Dr. King and the civil rights movement, how do we bring back the effectiveness of the church?
I'm just going to say, because of time, that was our last question. I'm really sorry, but get online and maybe you can ask a question while they're signing books. Okay, go ahead, Leah.
Well, I think the answer to the question really lies in our understanding of our faith, and since you're talking about churches, our understanding of the gospel. So what I would argue is that we engage in our communities and we engage in the political system as one means because of our understanding of the gospel. And because we believe that the gospel, or whatever your faith tradition is, I know Christianity the best, demands, requires that I am concerned about the least of these. That Jesus spent most of his ministry talking about poor people, serving those who did not have anything. So how then do I follow in his name and stay inside of my holy place and not do the work of relationship building, not do the work of improving communities, not do the work of healing, and healing in whatever form that takes, whether that's medical. Jesus was able to heal just through word noise, but we can heal through hospitals, through nursing care, through medication. It is our responsibility as the people of God, those who call ourselves God chasers, to reflect the peace, the grace, the mercy, and the love of God inside our own communities. You cannot call yourself a God chaser and sit in your house and just wait for God to move. God moves through you. What has happened, I think, over the years in our churches is that we have retreated to our holy places and waited for God to deliver something from on high, missing that it is our role to be the agent of God inside of the community. I would call, and there are more and more churches and religious institutions of all faith traditions who understand that call and who are moving outside of their holy places or expanding the definition of what their holy place is to include the community as part of their faith tradition.
I just want to say this, and because it hurts my heart to have seen and witnessed over the last month as people are grieving all across this country over the loss of life, especially in places of worship. There's no place for hate, and not only in our places of worship, but in our society. When you see a 19-year-old child, walk into a place of worship and open up and shoot people, I mean, we need to do a better job of talking to our children about love. They have lost hope.
And the thing about that young man is he was driven. He goes to a conservative church, and he was driven to that because of what he's learning inside of his church. So our responsibility is, as one of my friends says, to disciple people away from racism and to give them another way. The fact that he learned that in church and felt approved by his church to go and shoot up a synagogue is something all of us of all faith traditions should say, oh no, where is the church? Because we need to go have a talk with them.
Where is the church, Leah?
I don't know. I'm a find out somebody needs to go get that pastor, and he needs an all-night prayer in our tradition.
Yeah.
All-night prayer.
All night. Do
You
a
know-
little novena.
I think I would add too, because part of my tradition in terms of growing up in politics actually came through the church. But I do think that we have, and Leah actually has. She didn't talk about this, but you know, I'm always inspired when she talks about how she actually got involved in church, and because her church was an activist church. Many of us come from activist churches. And somehow, somewhere, where's that little pretty young girl that asked that question? Some of our churches have lost their way. But now we have young people who are stepping outside of the church, who are leading. They might be in the church, but they also know that they want to be involved, because anytime you wake up and you listen to a 6-year-old kid sit on a bench, have an interview, and she says she hears the sounds of bullets. She doesn't know if she'll ever be able to get rid of it. Then the sound she should be hearing is her parents and her community saying, enough is enough, we need gun control, and we're going to elect everybody that is going to put us in office. And that's the type of fire that we have to have. I mean, in the last, 3 months, we've had 2 synagogues shut up and 3 churches? That is not America.
And even inside of that, the day that the synagogue was shot up, there was a masjid that was also attacked. So we've got to, and this is, we see racism, sexism, Islamophobia, everything operating all of it, anti-Semitism, and those of us of goodwill have got to stand up against all of it. Not just the thing that we understand, but all of it, because it all has the same root. And it has to be pulled out in its entirety.
And that's where we're going to end, because that's the message we should end on, and thank you.